single value over. So when we get another camera, we can just copy all the values over properly, and it should be good to go. So probably the best way to do that. I guess we need to change all this stuff. We'll have our constructor right here. So basically we need, in front of every single one of our values here, we need to actually reference it based on our temporary data. That's not what I wanted. Just a lot of frickin' variables that we have to deal with here. Get camera. And just a whole lot of just fixing stuff. Turn the camera width, and we're gonna have even more horrible errors. Alright, so just more find replace pretty much. So once we're finished, paying the refactor gods their due diligence, we will be able to calculate stuff. And I probably should have kind of had this stuff broken up to begin with. That would have been kind of a smart idea, but, well, I wasn't really sure exactly how I wanted to do all the camera stuff, so I'm going to chalk that up to me not writing a whole bunch of camera stuff before. Well, not before, but for a very long time, because I was always doing server work, so it's not like you have a camera on your server. Most of the time you're just dealing with RPC calls, dealing with databases, dealing with stuff like that. So gameplay code stuff for me is not stuff I've done for a very long time professionally. Or at least stuff I haven't written a whole bunch of different examples of. Because I never made any platforming games when I was in college or any of that. In fact, none of the games that I ever made were platformers. They were all just space shooters, crap like that, over the shoulder, third person shooting games, things like that. The only platformer I ever worked on was actually at Amazon, but that never will see the light of day. And I didn't even really work on it. And this is another reason that I have this M underscore on the front of all my variables, is I'm actually able to very easily find everything here that is part of this temporary class, just because every single one of those variables has an M underscore in the front. So, that M underscore doing work for us. Which is why I always do it. Third person. Yeah, I don't know if a third person bitey game would work out too well. You need a lot of 3D art and animation for that to work properly. And even then, you'd be running into stupid crap. You'd basically be making Sonic, the current iterations of it, and it's just like, I don't know, man. That seems like a rat hole. Exploring Brackenwood like Myst. Well, I don't know if it'd be a bitey game then, because I think that it's a very different sort of experience. I mean, if you really wanted to explore Brackenwood, I think it would be best done as like a point-and-click adventure. That would be hilarious. Like as Bitey trying to figure out some puzzle, and you're just like throwing your hands up, like, "Come on, Bitey!" Just turn it into a Lemony Wee third-person shooter game where you're flying around and you just blowing up you with water spells or whatever. I'd be alright with that. Alright, let's see how many more errors we have now. And flying. Of course flying. If you're going to be Lemony Wee, you're going to be flying. A VR game? I don't know. A VR game might be ridiculous. Alright, if in camera data does not equal null pointer, we're going to call camera data initialize with in camera data, and then set it equal. Oh, actually, we should say if camera data does not equal null pointer, then camera data equals that. Otherwise, in camera data equals null pointer. We'll just chunk it off there. So if camera data does not equal null pointer, call initialize on it. And set equal. These aren't public, so I have to actually make them public. What is this? Calculate smooth the velocity? For what? Alright, so the fall velocity should just be part of the player proxy actor. And we're going to need a get follow velocity. So f vector Get follow velocity. Blueprint callable. Yeah, we'll just make all these callable. Alright, so we're looking for M follow velocity. Current follow velocity, it's going to be M owner. Get follow velocity. And that's the only place we're using it, because we're not doing much with the lead at the moment. And I don't think we will. Alright, camera component. It's really not found? Oh, it's just M camera. Current camera position. Cannot define a compiler generated special function. Yeah, okay. Well, the real error there is not what it's saying it is. I don't know if Bracken would work with VR stuff. I mean, you can make experiences in VR right now, but I don't know. I haven't been super impressed. I'm just one of those people who is on the fence with VR. Like, there's some interesting things that you can do, but I don't know. I'm a skeptic, and I may be proven wrong, but that's okay. I'm not a venture capitalist, so I don't have to be right. I can just be wrong, no problem. Yeah, we need. I don't know. To me, it just kind of seems like, 3D and 3D televisions and stuff like that. It's There's some things it works real well for, like piloting experiences and stuff like that. But it's like, we have these big simulators and stuff like that that people learn all this crap in. Update camera position. And I mean, you can't just walk forward in VR right now. Like, that's what's crazy. And like, I've got my Google Daydream headset and all that stuff, and I've messed around with a few things, and it's just like you still can't walk forward and do something. And until that's fixed, without people throwing up or feeling real bad. And I just don't see it for really catching on. I don't know. I feel like more augmented reality stuff is going to be better, more where things go towards. Because augmented reality is, I mean, if you had stuff you could wear on your face or whatever the hell, or something that, puts stuff in the real world, it just seems to me like it's a race to the bottom. Like, as soon as you take the headset off, there you go, you're looking at the greatest virtual reality simulation that ever exists, and it's reality, So it makes sense to make that better somehow, and then you don't have to worry about all the rest of this stuff. I mean, either that, or people just need to sit down and go through like some ridiculous motion sickness training, or we need something that you can just like turn off your inner ear or something like that, and then boom, there we go. Then it'll be solved. So maybe it's just we need an implant on there that just runs a little electric current over our stuff.
To be interactive. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that I think is more where things are going to go. Is augmented reality just kind of makes sense to me. And augmented reality also, like the other thing that I think virtual reality, this looks like a scam. Everything's a scam. The thing I think virtual reality is really going to take off for is business stuff. Like, let's say you are let's say you're a person and you need to remote into a meeting or something. Like across, if like Adam and I could literally like be in this, like a small confined area and have like a meeting, in a physical, or virtual room, like that would be amazing. Because if we had like, just room-sized VR, you can have like a 10 by 10 room in your house or something that's basically like everybody has one, and you can walk in there and then you can like, visit your parents and have Thanksgiving or whatever the hell, or just say hello. I think that's kind of where it's at, where you'd have, and that's kind of still augmented reality, right? It's still just a room, that is empty. You know, your little mini holodeck sort of thing. Because yeah, in room size VR would, you know, there's a lot of stuff you can do with that. Like if you could, you know, have a meeting with other people, you could, you know, you could even be there teaching somebody. You know, like if you could just sit in a virtual room and have, you know, your college professor or whatever the hell be there right in front of you, you know, educating you. You know, and you don't even have to be there. You can just be in your boxer shorts attending college, right? Or the same thing, right? You could have like VR meets Twitch, right? So you could be in the same room that I am, or something. You know, virtually. I don't know if that would work though. It'd be kind of creepy. But I think there's a lot more with that sort of stuff, kind of like real world applications as opposed to like games, than there are game applications. Yeah, well, creepy. Yeah, exactly. But that's what technology is for. It's to be abused because people are strange. We are the strangest creatures on the planet. Or, you know, it'd be really cool for like development and stuff like that, just using a basic computer, right? Because you wouldn't need anything anymore to, you know, sit down and use a computer. You know, you just sit there with your physical keyboard, and then like your computer is, you know, the thing strapped to your face, and you know, you have as much monitor resolution and whatever that you want. What makes you think we're not with you right now? Well, Karakan, my security cameras and alarms would have told me if you are anywhere near. The other thing that's I think is going to be really cool is like if you had, you know, virtual reality computer, there's no reason for you to be actually to have a computer right next to you, right? Like the reason why your computer is in your office area, right, is because you can't put it in the closet. If you could put it in the closet and just, you know, have it running there wherever the hell, right? You know, like the reason it's right next to your monitors is because it has to be next to the monitors. Otherwise, why isn't you know, your computer just like in your basement in a nice cool area or wherever the hell that's nicely ventilated, and you know, as long as it's not 100 milliseconds away or something, you know, in terms of the speed of light. If it's, you know, in a different room in your house, it doesn't matter. So if you just buy a computer, plug it into the wall and just, VR would basically mean you could go anywhere in the house and sit down in any chair, and as long as there's a keyboard and mouse in front of you and sound system or whatever the hell, you could totally have that experience. You just need a really long wire. I don't know, like, those cables are expensive. Because, like, imagine if you were on call for server stuff, right? And all you need to do in order to use the machine that's at work that you work with is to just sit down in a chair with a keyboard and just be like, okay, and now I'm working on the machine at work. Because, the graphical interface doesn't matter anymore. I think it would be cool. And then augmented reality would be super awesome for just everything. There's so many good. There's a huge difference. Like when I've worked in the game industry, and one of the big issues with games is that the margins are incredibly low. Like there's not a whole bunch of expenditure. Like when you go and buy a game or something, people bulk at a $60 price point. But if you're a business and you're sitting there and you're like, $60, $60 to a business is literally like $0 most of the time. Like one of the database guys I worked with at one point was just like, if we're arguing over $2,000 or if we're arguing over $10,000, we're making the wrong product. That's because, businesses do have money and do spend capital on such a large amount of stuff that, if you had a solution for one of their problems, usually, businesses have to solve problems with people. And if you can solve those problems with technology or something else, then it's incredibly cheap. So I think the big thing there is going to be that augmented reality and the rest are going to be very profitable for businesses because they can do crazy stuff that would be impossible. 10K is a lot for a startup, but $10,000 is not much money. Like, for a startup, sure, but like, when you actually start doing business stuff, and if you ever get in charge of any of the money stuff, and you kind of have to do that as a higher level server engineer because you're making decisions about how expensive the infrastructure is going to be, and you have to manage that against people. And like the difference between you making decision A and decision B is like, $10 or $20 million. And the difference is, hiring 3 people versus not hiring 3 more people for your team. And, it's so, things like $10,000 decisions, like, just wash out. You're just like, who cares about that? Like, if we had another person on the team, we literally would save ourselves $1 million this year. Like, all those small decisions that people get wrapped up in just kind of fall away. All right, so our camera should do exactly what it was already doing. After all that work, everything should work exactly the same. Excellent, and it does. So we're good to go there. So what we need to do basically is we need to have a transition to camera sort of thing. Yeah, it's like how much money do meetings cost? You know, when I'd be at Amazon and you'd have an all hands or something with 300 people, and you're just like, this meeting is costing so much money that, you know, it's insane, you know. And then like you go to like one of these all hands where you have like maybe 500 people, and then they have to delay everything by half an hour because the IT guy doesn't have the right cable to plug in for the guy's laptop, and you're just like, you know what? Business would make money just spending, you know, a whole hell of a lot of just buying the guy a new damn laptop, you know, rather than wasting 30 minutes of everyone's time because he, you know, like uses a Mac and we don't have a hookup to our freaking projector. Business money is just a different thing than people money. Alright, so what we want to do like it was crazy on one of the projects, you know, like working on a game, we had spent like, you know, $20 million on server stuff and it was a big flop. It was pretty funny because I summed it up at the end of the project. I'm like, it would have cost less to mail every single person who used this product an Xbox One and like 4 games and a controller. It would have cost less for us to do that than to have made this product. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to have a transition to camera data. So it's going to be like do a void, and we're going to be like transition to camera, and we're going to pass in, like, do we have set camera data? Yeah. So we'll have transition to camera, and it's going to be camera data and float transition time. And I guess we'll return a boolean. Because I want to make this real simple, but not too complex. Like, I want you to be able to call transition to camera, and like, if you're already transitioning to a camera, we should kind of just, I guess, transition to one camera and then transition to the next or something. We should have like a camera stack of transitions. So it'll go from like one camera to the next, to the next, to the next. Maybe we could have like a camera weight or something. And you could just have like an array of cameras, and then the weight of the camera would change how it's supposed to look. Stuff might look real weird. So I think just like a stack of camera transitions is probably the best way to go. So why don't we just make a simple struct here. Just like F camera transition. And we're going to have a camera data and a time. And let's have our constructor here. And we'll have like float and start time. Yeah, just like that. And we'll have an F vector down here of a T array, I mean, of transitions. It'll be like transition stack. So transition 2 camera is gonna work like this. We're going to pass on a uCamera component, a camera control data pointer, and a transition time. Alright, so this is going to call to add a camera transition. And what we're going to do is make a camera transition object. We're going to set all the variables properly on it. Alright, so transition time equals transition time. And we don't need the start time, that doesn't matter. Alright, so we're going to have our camera data here, and we're also going to have our I guess we should have a start time. Alright, I guess float camera transition time. We want, I guess, the wanted camera data. And the duration. So if we got these three variables, so our wanted camera data is going to be null pointer, our camera transition duration is going to be 0, and our camera transition time is going to be 0. Alright. Alright, so we're going to say if wanted camera data is null pointer, then we're going to check if our array of transitions has anything on it. If our transition stack dot num is a dot num, let's just look at T array real quick. Yeah, it's num. Alright. So if the num is greater than 0, then we want to I think it's what, erase at 0. I should not have gotten rid of my documentation. Alright, we're going to say m wanted camera data equals, and we're going to have to clone this. So it's this f camera transition trans equals in transition stack sub 0. Alright, so it's going to be trans dot m camera data get class and trans m camera data. Our transition time is going to be our duration is going to be trans dot transition time, and our f camera transition time is going to be right now. So that'll be our time utils. And we'll remove it. So it'll grab the first one off the top. And then we can start transitioning. And we're going to want this wanted camera data, we're going to want to call initialize. And it's going to be m camera data. So I'll say DQ the next transition if we can. And then we call tick camera. So we're going to say the f vector primary position. We're going to have float primary angle. We're going to have f vector secondary position. We're going to have float secondary angle. And we're going to have the weight for each. So float primary weight and float secondary weight. Alright, so this camera position, basically this is going to be primary position equals get current position. So we're going to do if m if Alright, we'll do it right here. So if m camera data equals null pointer, then yeah, we'll do it. If m camera data equals null pointer, then we just say, m wanted camera data equals null pointer after we've set this. So like m camera data equals wanted camera data. Maybe we should actually do that otherwise. So if camera data equals null pointer, if m wanted camera data equals does not equal null pointer, then m camera data equals m1 of camera data. Otherwise, return. Alright, so we can get rid of this. That's better. In case we like set ourselves to 0 or something, this will just slap it right in there. So let's see, this should be primary position, primary weight should be 1.0f. So we'll say if m wanted camera data does not equal null pointer, then we'll tick it, grab it, and we're saying our secondary position equals that. So this is going to be our primary angle equals that angle, and our secondary angle is going to be this one. The primary weight should be 1.0f, secondary weight should be 0.0, secondary angle we'll set to 0, and f vector 0 vector. So, in order to get this transition, we need our we're going to need now. So now is going to be this. So float now equals this value. So the secondary weight is going to be now minus camera transition time divided by camera transition duration. And primary weight equals 1.0f minus secondary weight. If secondary weight is greater than or equal to 1.0f, secondary weight equals 1.0f. If secondary weight is less than or equal to 0, then secondary weight equals 0. Alright, so it's going to be f vector position equals well, we want a vector between them, so it's going to be the current position is going to be the primary position. Then we want f vector adjust vector is the secondary position minus the primary position, and then we'll float. We need the adjust magnitude equals adjust vector dot size, and what we want to do is position equals, well, we need the adjust vector to be normalized. So the position is going to be the primary position plus the adjust vector multiplied by the secondary weight. So we don't need primary weight. Just the secondary weight. So we adjust towards this guy for the position, and that's the position. And float angle is going to be the It's going to be the secondary weight times the difference. So it's going to equal the primary angle plus the secondary angle minus the primary angle multiplied by the secondary weight. So that's the position and that's the angle. So we should now be able to transition between different cameras at specific times, and we'll have if secondary weight is greater than or equal to 1.0 f, then m camera data equals m wanted camera data. And m wanted camera data equals null pointer. So we're just layering vector math on vector math on vector math all the way down. What is this complaining about? It's complaining about my function not being finished for the constructor. And I'm probably going to have to, after I finish this, head to the store and grab some more caffeine. Alright, so it should work exactly like what we have here. And so what I want to do is I want to create in Blueprint something that grabs this, and what I'm going to do is go to the logic controller for the player and throw a button press in here. Oh yeah, just looking up and looking down work properly. Still, alright, good. Is we're gonna test out, so comment